pulled out of her speech at UC Berkeley, and there is a lot of context and background to this story. Now, she was initially scheduled to speak on April 27th, this Thursday. However, administrators and officials at the campus decided that that was a bad idea and they would have to reschedule to May 2nd because they didn't have a proper venue on campus available to ensure that there would be enough safety. Now, of course, there have already been threats of protest because people don't want to hear her speak. They believe that her speech is hateful, which, by the way, I agree with. She has questionable speech, to say the least. But nonetheless, it is a public college campus that is funded by taxpayer money. And this school does have an obligation, a constitutional obligation, to allow her to speak. Now,
So before we go any further, okay, that's nice. I'm glad that the Young Turks have at least the brain power to realize that it is a constitutional obligation because it is a public entity, a public school getting public tax dollars. And so that they have to make every availability be made, basically, for a speaker to come in without fearing for their life or the life of their students. They have to be able to provide security and protection, for this. So that's kind of good in terms of where the Young Turks, accede to that. Let's continue.
She did not want to speak on May 2nd. And the reason why is because that is referred to as RRR week at Berkeley. That's the week before finals where students don't have class. And so her concern was, my guess, I don't want to speak on that day because no one's going to be on campus, which I think is a legitimate concern. Now, I also think it's a legitimate concern to make sure that it's a safe environment, and there have been instances of violence while these protests have taken place in the past. And so look, here.
And Anna, why don't you just say that all these have taken place on liberal leftist institutions, primarily colleges and universities? It has never happened at there are no conservative universities other than Hillsdale College. I don't know of too many other conservative colleges or universities out there. But why does it always seem to be on these public campuses? And it's always being done by leftists, by progressives, by socialists, by Marxists. Just answer me that question, Ana and Cenk.
Here's my argument. The threats of violence shouldn't even exist, right? The reason why she's not able to speak on the 27th is because they're worried about security. They're worried about people doing something violent and people getting hurt. And so it's a legitimate concern, but it's super frustrating that it has to be a concern. Who cares if she has stupid things to say? Let her speak at an empty auditorium. This is leading to more attention that she shouldn't be getting.
So I don't quite believe the administration when they say, oh no, we moved it to the week where there's no classes, because then more people could attend if they wanted to. They didn't even say, they didn't even have the nerve to say more people could attend. They were just like, no, it's fine, it's fine. Less classes could mean that more opportunity and they should be busy studying for finals and on campus anyway. Yeah, no, they moved it so that it would be less people on campus. I get that, right? But that's not the only reason Ann Coulter objects to it. She also objects to it because objecting to it creates more conflict. And she loves conflict.
Right.
She bathes in conflict, and that's her whole thing. And that's part of why we're so.
As if you guys don't.
Frustrated with the people protesting these Nemos and Coulters and etc. because you're giving them what they want.
Yeah.
They want attention now. Every newspaper in the country is writing about Ann Coulter, and she thinks, thank you, anarchists of Berkeley, for giving me all of this free publicity and making me out to be a victim and a hero of free speech.
Yeah, and they love making themselves out to be victims. Okay, so let me be absolutely clear about everything involving this story, because there are all these nuances and caveats, and so I want to make sure everything is represented appropriately. Now, she was invited to speak by Republicans on campus, okay, a Republican organization on campus, along with a nonpartisan organization on on campus. So there were 2 organizations on campus that wanted to hear her speak. They invited her, okay? So a liberal viewpoint is not the only viewpoint that's represented or should be represented on that campus, okay? There are diverse groups, and if they want to invite someone to come speak, they want to hear her speak, she should be able to speak. I don't like her, I can't stand her, I have no love for her whatsoever, but that doesn't mean that my preferences should dictate who is and is not allowed to speak on a college campus. Now, Coulter said Wednesday that she is canceling her planned speech because she had lost the backing of conservative groups that had initially sponsored her appearance. Now, they ended up pulling out because they were also concerned about the safety of individuals who would either go see her speak, the safety of Ann Coulter, and the concern that the protest could erupt in some sort of violence. Now, Young America's foundation will not jeopardize the safety of its staff or students. That was a statement from them. Also, the Berkeley College Republicans, which invited Ms. Coulter and was supposed to sponsor her visit, also backed out and joined Young America's foundation in saying the atmosphere had grown too hostile.
Let me step in there because Young America's foundation is perfectly happy with Ann Coulter's speech. They finance it in a lot of ways and they support her. Those Berkeley College Republicans love to stir up trouble and are happy to do all this. So why do they even pull out? My guess.
Oh, those Berkeley College Republicans, those fascists, those Hitler Youth. I mean, Cenk Uygur.
Yeah. You come over here.
Oh, those Berkeley Republicans. They're just, they're just causing trouble all the time. I mean, let's continue.
Is, and this is not in the stories, but my guess is that when Ann Coulter said, "Hey, I'll just do it in Sproul Plaza, in the middle of everyone, where you can't possibly have enough security," so we do know that part. I think that they probably thought, "Oh, just to get more publicity, you're willing to endanger all those people's well-being, including our staff." No, then we're not gonna back you, Ann Coulter.
Yeah.
We were ready to back you, we were ready to do all these lawsuits. And if you wanna sue them and get a better speaking spot, et cetera, we're on your side. But you wanna endanger everybody's safety so you can grab a couple more spotlights? No, we're out. Maybe I'm being too kind to those conservative organizations, but that's my best guess as to why even they pulled out from supporting Coulter.
Well, that was my read of it as well. And so I want everyone to understand that I'm not backing Coulter because I support her in any way. I want you to understand that I know what her agenda is. You guys know what her agenda is. It's not really.
Just like we know what your agenda is, Ana, just like we know what your agenda is, Cenk, just like, guess what? Everybody knows what my agenda is. It's to basically show that you guys are a bunch of freaking hypocrites. Because this would never happen to you guys at all. I would be absolutely shocked and amazed if one of you were invited to speak at a university and you had to cancel because they said that there's no way that we're going to allow Ana or Cenk to speak at a public venue. And your safety would be of concern, the safety of the people that would come to hear you hear you speak would be of concern. I don't think that's ever going to happen. It doesn't happen from the conservative side.
Really about valuing free speech. It's not really about, sharing her ideas and her perspectives. It's about doing anything necessary to be in the headlines to get the attention that she craves so desperately. This is a strategy. It was a strategy by Milo. It's a strategy by her, and it will continue to be a strategy by conservatives. So we need to be smarter in responding to that strategy instead of giving them exactly.
True, because you guys are stupider for the strategy that you're employing right now.
What they want, which is the attention and the headlines. We need to ignore them. If you want to protest, that's fine. Make sure it doesn't erupt into violence, because if it does, then they can go ahead and say, oh, liberals aren't for free speech. We need to pull government funding from these institutions, right?
Yeah.
Just let her speak and just ignore her. The only reason why she's relevant is because people make her relevant.
Yeah, look, you want to protest Donald Trump, he's the president of the United States. That makes a lot of sense. We got to do that, right? Because he actually has power. I wouldn't even protest Coulter and Nemo. Because if you don't, only 3 people will show up. They're not.
You have no idea what the hell you're talking about, Cenk. Ann Coulter she sells books and, multi-million dollars in terms of book sales. All right, every time she sells books, people want to read, they want to hear her ideas. There's nothing wrong with that. You write a book, hey, if you can get the same amount. The thing is, Cenk, is that you're probably a little bit what's the word, envious, jealous of the notoriety, the fame that Ann Coulter gets, and that's okay. You shouldn't be. You've got a great, avenue for you to spout your ideas out to the public, to everybody. Let Ann have her public space. You've got your public space. I've got my public space. Everybody's got their public space. Let's compete in that arena, and let's see, whose ideas, come out on top. But that's what we need to do. We need to discuss, all right, instead of, you know, all the time just, now you've got an opinion, I've got an opinion. We'll put those opinions out. Sometimes we get a little, like I said, is, affectionately, yeah, the young Turks, the young jerks, okay? But a lot of times your opinions are kind of out of the mainstream. Anyways, let's continue.